to get kicked out of the game. I'm going to get it in. No question in my mind.
He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix. Most of his friends were either divorced.
Prayer for safety and,
got people on the defense talking about it. You better get your ass involved. You better get involved.
I just got to say, when it comes to former Dallas,
different.
For sure, and they would have thrown it off because
This guy gets off you.
Solid bro. And then I go to bed every night like G-Man, I promise you that What is up, Cowboys Nation? Your boy Mike Tag here. Kelly K9. We're a little late than our usual time and a different day, but we got, there's reasons behind that. But before we get going, man, make sure you guys hit that subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, get all those pleasantries out of the way as you're rolling in. I know people are just kind of getting things together. I see Steven's out there. He's first out the box, man. He's out the box first. Yeah. Definitely. What's up, my man? And Kelly, how you doing, man? What's going on with you?
Doing good. I'm fresh back from vacation, so it's the first work week back from being off for about 11 days, 12 days, something like that. It was a pretty long vacation. I took Monday off too because I got back late Sunday. So I've worked 2 days of the work week, and these 2 days have felt nothing short of an eternity. I'm looking for the weekend already.
More importantly, I got to get a couple things out of the way and welcome everyone. You guys rolling in, definitely. One, how's the diet going? Because I got you and I have both been on a diet, so I got a little bit of diet news for me that I'll share. But how is that going? Being on vacation, that's a challenge. And then you were in the one of the eighth wonders of the world, and probably one of the baddest bars in San Antonio. So how did that go? It looked like you're having a wild time. Got some audio issues. I was sitting there listening to you, and I was like, where the hell's the audio? But then you fixed it. But give us a recap.
Yeah, man. I mean, first of all, the food is always great in San Antonio. So, the diet went out the window. There was no dietary restrictions in San Antonio. And then, going over to the chef's house, cuts, he's not only does he make great wood cuts, obviously he's a great on the grill. We know that because we've had him, be the chef for the tailgate, the cook, the guy throwing it down, and he did it again, man. Him and his wife are great hosts. She made some really awesome beans. Fred almost got cut because he was saying they were his beans.
Oh boy.
So he almost got himself cut there, but Cuts had some ribs. He had some pork chops. He had he had a little bit of everything, man. And the ribs he had were delicious. Everything was delicious. Some fajitas, everything was perfect. There was some street corn dip there. I mean, I was there maybe about 20 minutes before I hit the kitchen. I wasn't too shy about going in there and helping myself, so I went in there and I think everybody kind of followed suit after that and went in and grabbed food. And there was still plenty of food left. I got to take some home to my kids and to my mom and my sisters. And I put a plate out in the morning and they were all eating barbecue for breakfast. So I thanked them plenty for that, but there was a good turnout, man. You had a raffle there, raffled off 2 cuts while we were there. For 2 of the people that had come. The stipulation was they had to show that they were subscribers to the Cowboys channel. So he gave away 2 cuts, a DC4L cut, and then he gave away a Cowboys helmet cut. Both really nice cuts that he gave away. So 2 lucky people walked away with cuts, and then we just had a good time, man, drinking beer, catching up, talking Cowboys football, played a little foosball. I'm not going to talk about the outcome of that because I'm still a little bit sore about that. Shoulder, though, it's a shoulder injury that I got. This kind of messing me up, but it was a good time, man. It was a really good time, and I love catching up with everybody, and we can't wait to do it again. Get you down there this time.
It was a little late notice, so it's hard with the flights. But if we give me a little notice, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna have a great weekend. We'll do a live show from there. We'll make it an event, and maybe even try and make it an annual event. Quick shout out to our guy Rick, man. He's first time in the live chat, so definitely welcome to the cave. Appreciate you hopping over on the YouTube. And for everyone else, man, just make sure you get over to YouTube if you're watching. I see a bunch of people logging in on Twitter or X, whatever that is, and Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. YouTube is where it's at because you can chat really good with us and be part of the family. And
we get no love when you're over there on X, man. We get no love when you're over there on X. And it's funny because I was actually talking with and we got, speaking of that, I mean, we won't get too far into it. I'll tell you some more off air, but I met a young woman down there that's a Green Bay Packers fan that I wanted to come on the show before the playoffs. Her name's Janet Wilson, and she actually extended her gym membership to me and was kind enough to let me use her gym or her guest pass to get into her gym. She's a Green Bay fan. She's running a YouTube channel. She says she has the same problem. They were live streaming it on Instagram and on X, Twitter, whatever, getting the people over from those apps onto YouTube to subscribe. Because, I mean, I don't think you guys understand, man. Well, obviously we're trying to build something here, and we love having you on here. We love having the viewers, but those viewers do nothing for us if they're not switched over to YouTube. So take a quick second, jump over to YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe, because we're trying to do good things, grow this channel. And, we got all kinds of stuff like the cuts thing that we had at Jones Z neighborhood barbecue, that we had over there. That was a great thing, but, we invited the fans out there. We're going to have the tailgate on 9/22, the Ravens game, second game for the Cowboys. We got giveaways that we do, all kinds of great stuff for you guys. So, yes, please take a moment of your time. Please jump over to YouTube. It helps us greatly. It takes a couple seconds out of your time, and you're doing us a solid. So, but thanks for tuning in regardless.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate it. Couldn't have said it better. And we do have some good giveaways. We're getting closer to our 3,000 subscriber, which is going to be a giveaway of, one of the greatest Cowboys of all time, Bob Lilly. We got a cool Funko Pop with basically his career inscriptions on it. And our guy Steven is donating a signed Sam Williams jersey. We're going to do that at the tailgate. So, Kelly, you're going to, we got to get your mind going. What's the best way to do a giveaway? We'll get into that, but we're going to have that, and we'll probably have some other things at the tailgate to do some giveaways and have some fun. So it's going to be a good time, and you guys definitely subscribe. You don't want to miss it. We got a couple other interviews planned. We got some old friends coming back in, some old Cowboys coming back in for another go around. And, the season's getting started, but breaking it down, and I just saw, I know, Holy Terror, she said it, and she stole my thunder, and hey, I appreciate it. We appreciate it, Dallas Made. She said, why all the drama in our division? And I don't know, is it drama in our division, or is it just with these Cowboys? But, I kind of get, I don't know if it's, I get envious of some of these other teams that have these quiet off seasons, and we always seem to have something. You got the Dak situation, you got CD, you got Parsons, and what I was thinking about today, and we want to make this interactive with you guys, so I'd love we'd love your opinions on it too, but let's just be straight, and we'll be conservative. You have the top 6th or 7th quarterback in the NFL. I don't give a shit what you guys say. He is. You've got easily, I'll be conservative and say top 3 to 4 wide receiver in the league. You've got the top 3 pass rusher in the league. And I don't understand the hate and the negativity that these are our superstars. Any other team, they're hoisted on the podium and, held up in high esteem. And there's just a section of fans that just absolutely dog these guys every day. It's always something.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
Well, here's my thought on it is I think what a lot of people are looking at it is a lot of people are looking at this, and I can understand this aspect of it, but I still think that it's a flawed way to look at it. I think it's wrong. I think what that portion of the fan base is looking at is they're saying, we got bounced in the first round by Green Bay and we're embarrassed. And we had those stars on our team. So how are we getting better by paying those stars more money and taking up more of the salary cap and basically running it back with the exact same nucleus provided we've got a few rookies that we added and one free agent. We got Kendricks that we added on the linebacker crew, but they're looking at it like, what's going to change? So I just think that there's so much, and I don't think that's the way to look at it, because I don't think you make this team better by subtracting good talent on the team. Because if that's the way you're looking at it and say, hey, we're running it back with the same guys, what are we doing here? How are we going to make it past where we made it last year if we didn't make any changes? Okay, I get looking at it from that. But what sense does it make to take away, like you said, a top 7 quarterback, a top 3 wide receiver, and one of the top probably 2 pass rushers in the league? It makes no sense. And the thing is everybody wants to get into their, start looking and start money watching and start talking about the cap. Listen, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones have got you guys bamboozled and fooled when it comes to the salary cap, because every single other team in the league is able to manage and work around the salary cap. Philadelphia was able to sign A.J. Brown. They were able to sign Devontae Smith. There's been other teams that have made moves that have signed their core players, their key players, been able to sign them to deals and do it before the Cowboys do it. Guys are getting deals done. You saw the Justin Jefferson deal get done. And maybe that's a domino that needed to fall for CD to get his deal done. But now in terms of the quarterback, you've got Dak sitting there, but there's other players that are out there that they're talking about possibly that could get in again. And you're just sitting there like, man, the Cowboys are sitting there waiting. But, whatever, that's neither here nor there. But I think that people get a little too caught up in, one, how much we're going to pay for guys, because every team across the league is having to do that. The next quarterback that signs is going to be getting another paramount, monumental deal. CD, if he comes in over the top of Justin Jefferson, the next big name wide receiver is going to come in over the top of them. That's just the way that the league goes. It's been that way for years, and people act shocked because the numbers keep rising and getting bigger, and they're eye-popping because you're seeing this historic deal, the most Justin Jefferson, the most ever by a non-quarterback, and people are like, oh my God, how are we going to pay CD that and still pay Dak and still pay? It can be done because every year the salary cap continues to rise. Every single year. It's just the cost of doing business. And when you get good players and you draft good players like the Cowboys have done, you got to make a decision. Do you want to let these guys walk, or do you want to sign them? And I think it is a bad thing to let any one of those 3 guys walk, because I think all 3 of them make this team better. And if you take them off the team, if you thought what happened with Green Bay was bad, wait until you take those guys off the team and see a full season without all 3 of those guys, or really any one of them. You take any one of those guys, you're going to see a significant drop off.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing that's frustrating for me is I was telling you a story off air, and, I talked to a former Cowboy who's part of like the Super Bowl years, right? I'm not the 90s, but like he played in the 60s, 70s. And I think he even might've played into the 80s, but he played for a long time. And, I asked, I said, you still follow the team? He goes, every chance I can. I said, what is it going to take for this? What's holding this team back? And you know what his answer was? Do you know? You want to take a guess? Jerry Jones. And I ask all these old guys, and they say the same thing. And it always comes down to that. And I don't mean Jerry there's talent on this team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting any blame on Jerry with the talented team. The thing I would say, Jerry admitted to this, and he said any publicity is good publicity, being in the news. And it gets to the point where I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, why do they do this? Why do they wait the last minute on C? Why do they wait the last minute on Dak? Why do they drag out things? Like, even you could go back to the Zeke contract where he held out and they probably could have got him earlier or something like that. They always drag it out and then get it done. And all these other teams, you watch the Eagles sign Devontae Smith early. You watch them get Brown early. You saw the Texans sign their receiver to a $375 deal early, a couple years early. They could have tried to extend CD last year, or they could have extended Dak last year, and it would be so much cheaper. But it's almost like, and I hate to say this because I'm being kind of overthinking everything, but it's almost like Jerry, it's worth it to him to pay more to drag it out, to continue to be in the news. Because I went to lunch today, and 2 guys I was with, they go, here, turn around. Cowboys are still being talked about. You have the NBA finals coming up. You've got all this stuff going. It is not even football, and they're still talking about the Cowboys, and that's what he wants. So it almost makes me think this is his plan. This is what he likes to do.
It's a 24/7 news cycle. It legitimately is. It's a 24/7 news cycle. There are two things that seemingly there are three things right now in the news cycle that you hear every single day about. Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, the Dallas Cowboys, and the political race between Biden and Trump. You hear those are the three things that you just get beat over your head with every single day, whether it's on social media in the timeline, whether it's on the news, whether it's ESPN, whatever you're watching. You can't get away from those three topics. Those are the hot button topics. And you're right. I do think Jerry likes it. I do think he likes getting talked about. And it's why it's why for so long that they've called us the circus and Big D. You know, they talk about it. We're basically a running clown show. And what's crazy is what I buy about what the players said about it being Jerry is because that type of attitude and that type of personality bleeds into your players to where they're like, you know what? Any publicity is good publicity. Why do I need to stay out of the spotlight? Why can't I say things? And you get people like Micah Parsons saying kind of controversial things. You get Micah Parsons saying these things that are working people up because he doesn't care. It's like, hey, I'm in the news. They're talking about me. They're talking about the Cowboys. And Jerry Jones don't give a damn because, hey, it's publicity. They're talking about it, you know, and you know, because you hear these comments by Micah Parsons and when you watch the interview, they sound innocent enough, but when you read them in an article with really no context, they sound kind of bad, right? They talking about, you know, that he's said 20 words to Zimmer since he's come. Talk about he's never had a Micah Parsons. It's going to be a compromising relationship, which I will say, even when I heard the interview, I did not like how that came out. I don't think that there needs to be between a defensive player and a coach. I don't think there's compromise. I think you do things the Zimmer's way or the highway if you don't like it. I don't think that there's compromise between a player and a coach. I don't see it that way. I don't think it should be that way. I don't really know what Michael was referring to, but that struck me wrong. But still, you get those kind of things, and you get a Micah Parsons talking about, I heard this thing, and I haven't heard him say it, but where he was talking about the possibility of if he got traded playing for a team like Pittsburgh. And I'm just sitting there thinking, you got to think about optics and how that sounds and how that riles people up. You got to know this Dallas fan base and how we are. We're so hungry and thirsty for a championship that when we start hearing shit like that, they're going to turn on you quick, man. And they're starting to turn on Michael Parsons. You're seeing it. I'm seeing it all over social media. People are starting to turn on him. Me personally, I'm not there yet with him, but I mean, it's just like you said, it's the whole Jerry's personality. It bleeds into the team and and Jerry's a friend to everybody and everybody's buddy. And he's not like, you know, I don't know about you, but the owner of my business that I work for, and I'm a manager, I don't ever see him. And he doesn't cut up with me. And he doesn't talk to me. He doesn't make social with me. Now, if I see him and he comes through the store, he's going to say hi to me, but we're not going out together. He's not calling me. He's not. And if I make mistakes or if I'm out of line or if I'm doing something, I'm going to hear about it. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like Jerry just seems like he wants to be everybody's friend. And everybody's got this laid back atmosphere. And what are the consequences if you don't? What are the consequences if you screw up like we did in Green Bay? Who really suffered from that game? Yeah. I mean, if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm sorry, I'm firing Dan Quinn immediately. But that
shows. But that game kind of showed his cards, right? Because that would have been a humbling moment to me for any. I mean, think of the fans and how we felt, and you're supposed to be the owner. And never get a hand cramp from writing a check. You would write, there would be no check big enough to win that you'd write for a Super Bowl. And, it's crazy. But going back to Mike, and I see some people, we're going to talk some Mavs. We got to get through some Cowboys stuff, but we're going to talk some Mavs. We're going to talk some Celtics.
We'll get there.
We're definitely, so I'm going to save some of your predictions because I definitely would like it. But, looking at Parsons and what he said, and we posted some of the clips on our channel. If you guys missed any of it, go, look in YouTube, and there was 3 different clips that we cut up. One was Mike McCarthy, talking about McCarthy. One, obviously, you talked about with Zimmer, the comments on Zimmer, and then one of them was talking about chemistry and the OTAs and not being there. And you can build chemistry outside the football field, and I get it. If you talk to those teams in the 90s, they hung out together. outside of practice, all of them. They had an unbelievable bond, and you kind of saw it with Larry Allen, the passing. We can kind of touch on that a little bit too with you guys, but you just saw, you could see the emotions, you can see everything. They were a friendship. I mean, they were brothers, and I don't know if you have that with this team. At least I don't see it, but I don't know if that's just the way, the world is today. But I don't have a huge issue with what Parsons had to say with Zimmer. I mean, Parsons is a freak, and he is unique. And I think with Zimmer, he's going to give Zimmer maybe some options that he hasn't had. I don't think Zimmer had a player like him. Now, I'll be careful what Parsons said, because I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, a 94 played with Zimmer. A couple 94s played under Zimmer, and both of them are Hall of Famers. One was Charles Haley, and the other one was DeMarcus Ware. Now, Haley, I think, was what left before Zimmer became a defensive coordinator, I think. But I know Zimmer was on the staff for the Super Bowl 30 team. So anyway, he was around some really good pass rushers and really good guys. So I don't want to go as far as saying he's never seen someone like Parsons before. I mean, we'll maybe pump the brakes on that. But I think Parsons can be used unique. And I was watching EJ's show. He had his brother Terrence Parsons on, and he was talking about him being worn down. He was saying, being a DN, that is going to wear you down. And if you look at, you've talked about it a ton, does it always look like he wears down as the season winds down? And I think with Zimmer, Zimmer is going to use him the right way and maybe have him off the ball a lot. Maybe not have him pass rush and being a D-line every single play, using him spy, almost like he did. I can't remember the guy he had in Minnesota that was a linebacker, but he was a pass rushing linebacker. Maybe he's going to use him like that, kind of, get him. So I didn't have a huge issue with that. McCarthy comments was interesting because he had a lot of love for McCarthy, a lot of positive things to say about McCarthy and how he's been with these players and had them accountable and this and that. And then obviously the chemistry thing. But someone wrote, and I don't know if it was bullshit, so I don't want to say it's fact, but someone was saying that some of these players in some of this training camp don't have the respect for McCarthy because they feel he's on a lame duck. All these coaches are on lame duck, 1-year contracts. Would you buy any of that? Or, I mean, what's your thoughts, and what do you guys think in the chat? Could that even be?
I don't buy that, because I think the fact that McCarthy's playing for his job right now will lead to him not putting up a bullshit. Like if you were on that team and and I'm McCarthy and you're, giving me any kind of attitude, you're giving me I'm telling you, this is something you need to do, this is something you need to work on, and I'm getting pushback, I'll bench your ass. Like, if I'm Mike McCarthy and this is my year to put up or shut up, and I've got 1 year, I don't give a damn what Jerry Jones tells me. I don't give two shits. If I'm McCarthy, I'm going down swinging with both fists and kicking with both feet. So, I mean, I don't buy that at all, because I think that, listen, 3 seasons in a row, man, 12 wins, 12 wins, 12 wins speaks for itself. I think Mike McCarthy, honestly, is an underrated coach, man. I think it's a sad position that we're talking about this right now, because look at the Steelers organization and look at how many years that they've stuck with Mike Tomlin. I mean, I get it.
How many years it's been since they won a playoff game?
I don't offhand, but it has to
7 years.
Been a while. Okay.
7 years.
And look at the patience that they have, though, because they have faith that he can build this thing and that he can build a winning culture. And is Mike McCarthy not doing that? I mean, we're just coming off this Jason Garrett era where it's 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, and it's mediocrity. And I get that Mike McCarthy hasn't done it yet in the playoffs, but we're sitting there. We got him on a lame duck year after going 3 straight seasons of 12-5. Like, what sense does that make? Like, you're sitting there talking about a coach that has won 12 games for the last 3 seasons, 36 games. Like, that's a winning culture. That is winning. And you're sitting there, you're impatient. That's why I say about this Cowboys fan base as a collective, we are so thirsty and hungry for a championship that we're ready to push Dak out. We're ready to push Mike McCarthy out. We're on the move on to the next. We like got ADHD. We're like, nope, 12 wins ain't good enough. We need more. When all these other franchises would kill. There's several franchises that would kill to be in this competitive spot where they've got a chance to compete in the playoffs each year, because that's what you want. You want a chance to compete in the playoffs and then to be able to win in the playoffs and get to the Super Bowl and win it. And I feel like we're close. We're close. We're closer than we are being to being a top 10 pick team. We're closer to winning a Super Bowl than we are to being a top 10 team that drafts top 10 is what I'm trying to say there. So I don't get the impatience around him, man. And if I'm Mike McCarthy, I ain't putting up with no bullshit, man. This is my last year coaching, man. I'm going down, man. If the ship's going down, I'm going down swinging with it. So I don't personally buy that.
Yeah, no. And I mean, and this is a team that's been, like you said, they've been competitive for a long time. I mean, it's crazy. They've been competitive for a long time with little show for it through the years with Romo and now with Dak Prescott. And I understand, Gage saying, they're under a microscope, but who puts them under the microscope? Are we creating our own drama? I mean, if McCarthy if McCarthy was signed to an extension, if CD was signed, if Dak was signed, I mean, what are they talking about? I mean, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. So if they would have, if after this year, honestly, and I get everybody was upset at the Green Bay game. I promise you, I was very upset at the Green Bay game, but I was more upset with the performance on defense and the slow start by Dak Prescott than I was anything else. I thought Mike McCarthy did a great job of going over and trying to collect CeeDee Lamb and say, hey, we need you, buddy. Get your head in the game. He went over there. He talked to him. I thought he did a good job with that. I would have had zero problems if at the end of the season they would have said, you know what? We're firing Quinn. We're moving on immediately. Like, you know what? We're moving on from Quinn. But then if they said, and then they said, Mike McCarthy, we're signing him to a 3-year extension. Also, we're going to sign Dak. We're giving him a 3-year. Like, I'd have no problems with these things because I feel like those would be moves that most franchises would make. Because again, the Cowboys seems like one of the only teams that just rotates through these coaches. Like, I mean, they're pushing through these coaches, and it's like, I get it. Some of them ain't great. It was time to move on from Jason Garrett. But now you've got a coach that's consistently getting you into the playoffs. Hasn't had a losing season in the last 3 years, won 36 games the last 3 years, and we're talking about this may be his last year, and he could possibly win 12 games again this year. He has the possibility to do that. We're talking about a guy who will have won almost 50-some games, and we're talking about firing this dude. I mean, you're right. I mean, who puts him under the microscope? It's us fans. It's us fans. Yeah. It's the media.
I think Jerry adds to it because he does. If you got all this stuff done, what are they talking about? They cannot. I mean, you could talk about their playoff, but I mean, how many days you got to talk about the loss to Green Bay? I mean, it's over. It's over. Move on to next year. And the funny thing is all I've heard so far is how tough their schedule is. The toughest schedule. They got their toughest schedule. How are they going to be able to do this? And how many people have you seen so far? Oh, they'll win 11 games. They win 12 games. So I saw one thing. 13 games. And these are these experts picking it or whatever it is. Vegas has them, I think, 10.5 over under, which is basically, that's double-digit wins. And you're having one of the toughest schedules in the league. And they told us all about the guys that we lost. And we got a quarterback on a lame duck 1-year deal that we don't know if they're signing. And CeeDee Lamb is a no-show at OTAs. And our coach is on a 1-year deal. And they still got us winning double digit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this team is talented. And I just wish the drama just go away. I tried to find, I can't remember the guy's name. There's a reporter for the Cowboys. He's always on Twitter. Maybe you saw it. He posted a tweet that he saw the greatest pass made by Trey Lance in the offseason.
Yeah, I actually saw it.
Okay. I mean, really? One pass. It's the greatest pass in offseason when these guys are wearing shorts and t-shirts.
And okay, so I jumped into that thread and I started reading because he broke down several things. So also in the same breath, okay, Trey Lance did that. But also Cooper Rush with the second team also led the team to a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie, whereas Dak had a touchdown, failed 2-point conversion, and then Trey Lance had the touchdown, but also failed at the 2-point conversion. So actually, out of that possession and that series that they were running, which is basically a situation where they had to score, go for 2 to tie, Cooper Rush was the only one that did. They didn't mention Cooper Rush. That wasn't the main tweet. It was Trey Lance made his best throw of the offseason. One throw, right? One throw is his best throw. So,
yeah, and we're not dogging Trey Lance, and it wasn't a video. Yeah, there was no video. It was just one of the guys reporting there. I didn't see anything, I don't know your feelings on it, Kelly, and I don't know you guys in the chat. I want Trey Lance to be great. I want him to push. I want him to push Dak and make him better. And if he's better than Dak, then I want to see him behind the center. I don't care. I mean, that's the thing I think you guys need to understand. Like, I'm just speaking for me. I don't care who the quarterback is. I don't care who the running back is. I don't care who the receivers are. I want to win. I want the best guys to win. And the way to do that is competition. There should be competition at every level. And I think Trey Lance could end up making Dak better if he's having a good offseason, because Dak's a competitor. Dak, look at Aaron Rodgers those years, Brett Favre those years. Some of Brett Favre's best years was when Aaron Rodgers was there. Aaron Rodgers, some of his best years, MVP years. Remember when they got Jordan Love and maybe Rodgers doesn't have enough left or this and that. He ended up having his best years. I think competition and pressure can make a great quarterback even better. And I think Dak Prescott is on the fringe of that. He's a Super Bowl away. And I know I saw some people scared look in his eyes, playoffs and this and that. If you're going to talk about scared look in the eyes, then you better talk about every damn player on that team. That was a colossal collapse that I saw against Green Bay. It wasn't one player. I promise you that. Well,
and I think the interesting thing will be like, okay, so if I think a Dak deal gets done before the preseason, right? And the thing is, Dak has always played. I think we can all agree Dak plays great in the regular season. That's not what anybody's worried about. We're wanting him to step up and be more for the Cowboys in the postseason, right? Get off to better starts, because he's gotten off to those notorious slow starts. That's a fact. But I think what'll be funny is if Dak Prescott, he gets his deal, he gets signed, they sign him to an extension, 3-4 year deal, and then you've got Trey Lance that balls out and has like a great preseason, and looks really good in the preseason, which, if that's the case, maybe he's somebody that you can trade for. I don't think you're going to get a lot, but maybe you recoup that 4th round pick if he balls out in the preseason. So Cowboys fans should hope.
Quarterbacks get hurt, right? Quarterbacks going to get hurt. I mean,
they do. So they should hope for Trey Lance. We should hope for Trey Lance to ball out in the preseason and show something good where some other teams show interest in him. Because I don't think that he's going to be the answer for the Cowboys moving forward, because I think they are going to stick with Dak Prescott. But I like what Gage said. He says Dak's basically degrees without the Super Bowl. He's close, and he is. I think that the thing is that people are always going to point to the playoffs and to the lack of playoff success. But you can point to that with a lot of guys, a lot of different guys through the league, a lot of different guys through history. And no one guy's the same. There's not a crystal ball. There's not somebody that sits there. They're like, the people put this outlier because Dak hasn't done it in the first 8 years that he can't do it ever. Well, that's not true. Is Dak Prescott still playing at a high level during the regular season? Absolutely, he is. He was the runner-up to the MVP last year. He was playing at a super high level. And, I mean, you can look at the numbers. You can break it all down. You can talk about the Dak. They put out a stat since over the last 4 years. Dak is the second most accurate quarterback on passes over 20 yards. I mean, you don't do that if you're a bum quarterback. You just don't. Good quarterbacks don't do that. Good quarterbacks don't put up the numbers that Dak Prescott puts up consistently. They don't win the kind of games that he wins consistently. It's the thing in the playoffs is it's a complete team game. And look, like I said, I've had the frustrations. You've had the frustrations. We've looked at it and been like, Dak, come on, man. You gotta get it together, man. You gotta be the guy to lead this team, to take this team by the bullhorns, man, and get them through and get them there. But it's not asking too much for your defense to not bend over and grab their ankles like they're fresh meat in prison. It's like, come on, guys, y'all got to do something too, man, because that defense did him zero favors in the game. And I hear people say, well, you know what, when the defense is lacking, Dak's got to step up. Well, okay, I can get that, but how about when Dak's lacking? Can the defense step up? Because I haven't really seen that other than that five-game stretch, 6-game stretch when Cooper Rush was the quarterback year before 2 years ago, when Cooper Rush went 5-1, the defense was balling out. Then Dak comes back and they just kind of relaxed. You notice that defense kind of relaxed a little bit. They were only allowing 19 points a game during that Cooper Rush deal. And we were only scoring like 20 points a game. Dak comes back, we're scoring 35 points a game, and the defense starts giving up like 24 or 25 points. You know what I'm saying? That they relaxed. So it goes both ways. It's a flip side of the coin when it comes to that.
Yeah. No, and again, we could beat it. You know, we could talk about this all day long with Dak. And until he wins it, it's always going to be a question. And that's what I say is I would say, hey, people always make hey, Tony Romo's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he is. The lack of postseason success, I can't put a guy in the Hall of Fame with that. And if Dak falls under the same I would say the same. But if he wins a Super Bowl, you might as well get that gold jacket, sewn up for him, because that's what's missing for him is that playoff success and a Super Bowl ring, because he has the numbers, he has the wins. Look at his win percentage, look at everything, and it's got to come together for him. But time will tell. But let's jump in, and I see some people commenting on X. My man JJ, great comments, appreciate it. But I'd appreciate it more, and I know Kelly would, if you slide on over to YouTube and hit subscribe too, and be, help your boys out a little bit. I hate begging. I ain't too proud to beg though. But one other thing is, you saw Justin Jefferson get paid, and it's a matter of time, right? And he got 140, 110 guaranteed over 4 years. I ran the comparison. Some people agree, some people didn't agree, whatever. But you're talking about, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, who you're going to take, different receivers. CeeDee Lamb missed a lot of, he didn't have Dak Prescott his rookie year. So that made a big problem because Dak was hurt. Justin Jefferson was hurt a lot last year, so he didn't really have a full year in. So CeeDee's kind of, if you look at the last couple of years, he's overtaken him in catches. Justin Jefferson's got him on receiving yards, but touchdowns, rushing, and all that kind of stuff, CeeDee jumps ahead. So they're neck and neck. So CeeDee's going to get 140 or higher, right? I already subscribed. I appreciate it.
Thank you, JJ. We appreciate it.
Watch on YouTube then. But I'm only kidding, JJ. I appreciate it. But so he's going to get he's going to get 140, 145, right? Would you say?
So he said CeeDee's about to get the bag. He said 2, just a little under Justin Jefferson. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised
to be under.
I think it's going to be over. I think he's going to be making more than Justin. I really do. I don't think it'll be a ton more, but I think like maybe on a per year average, it may be $1 million more. So I posted a deal the other day. Justin Jefferson had, what was it, 140? I said like 145, same amount of years, but like 145, which would be like $1 million more, a little bit over $1 million more each year. I'll tell you this right now. I'll take CeeDee Lamb over Justin Jefferson. In fact, there's really not a receiver. The only receiver that I would probably, I'd have a tough time saying no to, is Tyreek Hill. And the reason why is because that dynamic speed, and Tyreek Hill is, you can just move that guy all over the field, and he is a home run threat every time. He's about the only receiver that I would take over CeeDee Lamb. Other than that, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb. And so I think he resets the market. And, but then you've got, you've got another batch of receivers who are going to be coming right in behind him that are going to be looking to reset that market. So anytime that a guy resets the market, people look at it and they're like, oh God, he's the highest paid in the league. And, how do we pay that much for him? But watch the next team come in and do that. And in 2 years from now, CeeDee Lamb's deal is going to look like a bargain deal compared to what others do. We saw this thing with Dak, and we saw people freaking out. How in the hell are we going to pay him $40 million a year for Dak Prescott? You know, he hasn't won in the playoffs and all that. And then in 2 years, you know, Dak was like the 10th highest paid quarterback in the NFL, you know, I think 11th or something like that. So, I mean, it's what happens. It's what happens. It's the way the league goes. And again, you've got the salary cap that continues to rise, which you'll continue to see these monster deals. If you guys think CeeDee Lamb's deal is going to be monstrous, wait till they pay Michael Parsons. Wait till you see the Michael Parsons deal, because Michael Parsons is going to break the bank. He's going to break the bank.
And this is why I tell you guys, don't worry, don't even pay attention. I honestly, I don't think twice about
not our money.
I don't really give a shit. They're going to get their money. You know, it's insane. But hey, let's give. I'm sure. I know Kelly knows the answer to this. What game is the statement win? What I mean, what game are you thinking the Cowboys are going to make a statement win?
0.
No?
0 statement games. It's the only statement game for me is the playoffs. That's
okay.
It. I don't got any games where I'm going to look at it and say that
I got to work. Man, I got to work with you, man. You got to think marketing, and you got to think hype. You got to think tailgate party with the Ravens.
All right. If we're gonna say that, I would say Baltimore. But listen, I just got to keep it real, man. It's early in the season. I keep pushing it, and I tell you, I say it's okay. Baltimore, obviously, I think they're gonna win that game, and I think yes, that would be a good win. But when I look at this team, man, I keep thinking to myself, and I bought in the statement games last year. I was like, oh man, this is a game. You know, this says something about this team. I thought when they grinded it out against Seattle, I was like, man, that's a game right there. That's a statement. I thought when they pulled through, and I thought when Dak beat, you know, when we beat the Lions, even though they came back and almost beat us with that 2-point conversion that wasn't, I thought, you know, that was a good one. And yes, I would love to beat San Francisco. I'd love to beat.
I don't want no part of San Francisco. I'm going to be honest with you. That make me bad. Like, I'm not looking forward to that game. Now I want to win it, but you know, right now.
Well, they've embarrassed us. They've embarrassed us for what, 3 years in a row. They've embarrassed us. So I mean, why would you? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a hard one to kind of get. It's not be a hard one to get pumped up about, because I'll be pumped up about it. I'd love it. But yeah, my statement games are going to be in the playoffs. Like, I need to see this team win in the playoffs. Like, I tell you what, my perfect scenario would be for this team to win 10 games. You know, 10 games, 11 games, roll into the playoffs. You know, people are, you know, hey, it's the same old Cowboys. They're choking, whatever. I don't care if we win the NFC East or not, how we get in, whether it's a wild card or NFC East winner, but go into the playoffs and absolutely thump whoever we play in the first round. And I'm talking about just a beat down, like, you know, 42-14, just beat the living shit out of them, out physical them, outplay them. Don't be this finesse team. Don't be this front running team that looks scared when they get down a score or 10 points. You know, don't just go into a shell and be like, here we go. You know, here we go again. Because it does. It looks like that Green Bay game, the team looked like they quit. And I understand that we put up a lot of, you know, Dak put up a lot of points in the second half and made it look better than what it really was. But let's not sugarcoat it. We got our asses kicked. For 60 minutes, the Cowboys got their asses kicked, handed to them on the defensive side of the ball, special teams and offense and coaching. Every aspect of the game, the Cowboys got their asses handed to them. So as far as me, a statement game, my statement game has got to be in the playoffs. I can't buy stock. I refuse to be hooked and reeled. But again, Mike does make a good point.
Come on, man, we're Cowboy fans.
Mike does make a good point about the Ravens game. And listen, you know how I am, man. I'll get about 6 to 10 Miller Lights in me in a game, and after a game that I see where the Cowboys win in good fashion, if it's against a good team, I'm probably gonna bite. I'm gonna bite the worm. I'm gonna bite the worm. The hook's gonna be fully planted, and here I go again, because I said they wouldn't do it to me last year. They did it to me, and I'm sitting there overlooking Green Bay, thinking about the next week, and here comes Green Bay, and just smacking us around like we're the redheaded stepchild of the NFL. So, it happens. But
yeah. And thank you, Holy Terror. I thought the Cowboys beat the Ravens before, and I just remember losing to them the embarrassing way when we closed Texas Stadium. That's the game
that was bad. That was bad.
Yeah, that's the one that sticks in my mind.
Yeah, you had all the greats there. You got, Emmitt Smith was there in the house. You had all of them there. So Rick said Kelly bites the worm in week 3. Well, if I'm biting the worm, there better be some tequila following it. So that's all I.
Well, I'll tell you a story about the Ravens real fast. Then we're going to move on to another subject. But that game, I was so pissed because someone I know, maybe they're divorced now, I'm not sure, but I had to go to a wedding that game. I was so pissed. I had to go to a wedding. And so I was watching the game. I couldn't watch it, but it was, the highlights you get, or the play-by-play you can get on your phone. And the game kind of was going back and forth a little bit early. And so we left, and this is how good this is the kind of woman I'm married, Kelly. I'm going to tell you, can't ask for a better woman. The only place close that we could get in to watch the game was at a strip joint. And I said, I got to watch the end of this game. She goes, well, let's go. And we went in, and we went and watched, and then the Cowboys got the shit beat out of them. But it's still, that's love right there for your man to make that sacrifice for you.
Well, you know what? Hey, and that's not a bad place if you're going to watch the Cowboys get their ass whooped at any place. At least you could turn, instead of turning the TV off, you can just turn around and throw a few ones over there at Bambi over there on the stage.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, so CD, I think, is going to get paid. I think he's going to be higher than, I think we both kind of agree to that. Yeah. And a lot of people think. So this brings up just a kind of a reflection on two. And I know I talked about it and it happened early in the week, but you didn't get a chance to really talk about it. But, Larry Allen, the passing of Larry Allen, just absolutely to me, it did a couple things. It sent shockwaves, to me, because again, this is one of those guys that you saw in your era. And, two, he's not, 52 that's a young man still, and gone too soon. And I don't know if you heard the story. I watched Michael Irvin talking about it, of how he died. Did you hear the story? I didn't want to, so I'll fill you in. So, Michael Irvin said he spoke to his wife and Larry Allen. They were just walking. Either along the beach or on a road. They were down in Mexico on vacation. They were just vacation. And he sat down and just took like this big breath and was gone. It was just like that. That was it. And, and so it's just so sad. And one of the greatest, probably offensive linemen in the history of the NFL. There, you can argue. I mean, I still would I'd have to take Emmett, but you could argue that the greatest Cowboy player that's ever put put the star, on the helmet. Just really tough. So I shared a memory and just want to get your thoughts. This thing that always reminded me, that when I think of Larry Allen was his rookie year. And I played the video where he chased down, where there was an interception, and this linebacker's running, and you see this 330-pound guy just running him down. And that epitomized his career to me. Just no quit. He was just a man, just powerful, and just really sad to see him go.
Yeah, 52 years old. It was sad. Larry Allen is you can't think Cowboys offensive line and not think Larry Allen. I thought to myself that every year I get a new jersey, man, and I've decided this year my jersey is actually going to be Larry Allen. I'm gonna get me a Larry Allen. Give me one of the throwback Larry Allen jerseys. He's a great guy. You hear all the stories about how good he was on the field, but you also hear about how a gentle and just kind, loving guy that he was off the field. But you always think about the chase down versus the Saints. When he was in the locker room and they showed him benching 700 pounds, the bar was bending with him when he's bringing that thing up. Or the time that he did 43 reps of 225 pounds at the Pro Bowl. Just the feats of strength. The guys that played against him that talked about him, some of the greatest pass rushers ever talked about the fact that when Larry Allen got his hands on you, it was game over. The clamps were down. It's sad for Cowboys Nation. It was a big loss. It was a guy that, you didn't see that coming because it was, gone too soon. 52 years old, you never expect a guy like that to be gone. You've seen the outpouring of love from his teammates. Just a great tribute to Larry Allen. I hope that this year that the Cowboys have something planned for his family at one of the games. I would imagine with the way that Jerry Jones, cares about his former Cowboys and players, that there will be something like that done for Larry. But I mean, yeah, just one of the greatest offensive linemen, not just for the Cowboys, but to ever play the game. And so, yeah, very sad news. Hated to hear it. It was shocking when I heard it. But every time you hear something now, you gotta double check and make sure. Whoa, hold on, is this actually true? Because there's been death hoaxes and all this stuff. But you hear it and you're just, you're kind of left numb. But definitely Larry Allen will always have a fond place in my heart. I always thought he was one of the most dominant players, and just absolute nasty as could be on the field, and just such a kind, smiling. You always seen him smiling. He always just had this big old smile on his face, and his teammates loved him. So,
I watched that video game with Justin Tuck, and it was great. If you didn't see it on YouTube, but yeah, they knew, Larry. He did like either a choo choo. I forgot what it was. He did some whoop whoop, some noise, and it was basically saying that, Moose is going to be behind me, Emmett's running, and there's not a damn thing you're going to do about it, kind of thing. And that's how dominant of a player he was. But there was a game his rookie year against the Packers. It was 1994 Thanksgiving, if my memory's right. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I just remember him, and I think he was playing. One of our tackles was out. I don't know if he was playing right tackle, left tackle. I want to say it was right tackle, and Reggie White just dominated him, and he was a rookie. And I think Larry Allen was kind of banged up, and I just remember Reggie White threw him one time. And you never saw that again. And that was his rookie year. I mean, you're going against one of the greatest pass rushers as a rookie. There's going to be that learn, but after that game, it was just complete domination. And it was just, definitely sad. And, being in his age bracket, it's definitely, eye-opening to enjoy life. Don't take things so serious. You live for every day, because tomorrow's not promised, and hearing some stuff, from his daughter and some of his family members that have come out and spoke about everything. It's just so sad. And I don't want to segue into something else, but talking about offensive linemen, it's been kind of sad. And I think a lot of us kind of have these thoughts could this be, he kind of mentioned it. Could this be his final season in Dallas? And you could be, saying, goodbye on the field to, we saw, Tyron leaving this past season. Could this be the last season for Zach Martin?
Yeah. I mean, it's, he's getting up there in age. And, you get these guys and they start thinking about, their life after football. I couldn't, and a lot of these offensive linemen, they retire a little bit earlier, starting to see that kind of trend and stuff. But I mean, they play a very physical position. I mean, you think about it, these guys are getting hit every single play. And this guy's 33 years old. You saw Travis Frederick have some health issues and walked away earlier than most thought, because he, is thinking about life after football. And a lot of these guys do. But yeah, I mean, it would be if this was his final season, I'd hate to see him go, but I wouldn't hold it against him if he decided, he's mulling retirement. Obviously, the thing would be how close, if the Cowboys got close to winning the Super Bowl this year, if they made it to the NFC Championship, could that reel them back in for one last run to try to win a Super Bowl? Or could it just be one of those things where, some of these offensive linemen, they start talking about this, and then, they maybe want to get out of training camp next year for a little while, and then come in to start the season. But, Zach Martin doesn't seem like the type, though, really, to do that, though. He's a guy that has always been there, OTAs, through everything, leads by example. He's when it comes down to it, he's been an exemplary Dallas Cowboy on and off the field. It'd be a big loss, to lose a player of his caliber. But when you look along this offensive line, you got Tyler Guyton now, you've got Cooper Beebe, you've got some young guys, Tyler Smith, obviously, you got some young guys. So it's starting to be an infusion of youth. You're starting to see this line get rebuilt. So if he retires, then I'd wish him well, wish him the best. He'll go down as one of the greatest, go down as one of the, one of the great, I don't say one of the greatest, but one of the great Cowboys to play that game, to play the game. And so we'll see, man. As long as he's playing this year, though, that's what counts. But
well, absolutely. And he's done a great job too, obviously being one of the leaders of the team. And yeah, Tyler Bass, you got Bass, you've got some guys there that hopefully they're going to soak up some of that knowledge if it is his last year, and they'll be a lot better for it. So, we talked a lot about Parsons. I don't want to dig too back in, deep into it, but more trouble than he's worth. I'm not going to go that far. I think some of it is just headline driven. I mean, your team's not better without Micah Parsons on it. I promise you that. There's just no way in hell that it is. And I think, there's a maturity level too. I mean, these guys, you got to remember, man, they're kids, but I don't know a more competitive person than Micah Parsons. I mean, you saw the stuff with the sumo wrestler, and you see, the way he's a competitor 24/7. And I think he's going to mature more into that leadership role. You kind of saw a couple of the clips that we had posted before, and things that he's saying, and I think he's getting there. And you can't force someone to be an in-your-face vocal leader. They want to compare him to Lawrence Taylor on the field. Okay, fine, if that's what you want to do, but he's not Lawrence Taylor, on the sideline. And hopefully he's not Lawrence Taylor off the field. That's most important. But, Lawrence Taylor was a very vocal guy. I mean, Parsons just doesn't really seem to, he's a little quieter, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think a lot of people want him to be that in your face, and, and I just don't know if that's his personality.
Yeah, no. And, it's funny because he did talk about the fact that, when he was talking about the voluntary OTAs and people were questioning why he was absent from voluntary OTA. First of all, they're voluntary. I'm just going to say this, for all these people that are criticizing him, how many of you guys, if your employer asks you to voluntarily show up on a Saturday, are showing up? Okay. And I just, I'm just going to say that's not, I don't take that as a bad thing. Michael Parsons talked about it. He said, look, I'm working. Just because I'm not at OTAs don't mean I'm working. The OTAs are for these younger guys. Let these younger guys get reps. Obviously Dak's going to be there because he's working in with some of these younger guys. But what is Micah Parsons going to – he mentioned it. He's like, what do I have to bring to OTAs? When it comes to mandatory, I'm there. I'm showing up. When it's mandatory OTAs, I'm going to be there. I mean, look at Michael Parsons last year in training camp. The dude was going 1,000 miles an hour. They literally had to tell him multiple times, pump your brakes, dude. Pump your brakes, man. I mean, he was, because he went in, he had that hit on Dak, and they're like, hey, you can't hit the quarterback. But I mean, nobody goes harder than Michael Parsons. The dude's going 1,000 miles an hour. So I mean, it is what it is. I think that right now it's a slow off season, combined with the fact that we had the Green Bay game and everybody's still pissed off, and that's a sour taste in everybody's mouth. So everything is getting magnified. Everything is negative. Everything is just this and that, and everybody starts, they start feeding off each other, and negativity feeds other negativity. Parsons, I think, is going to get a big deal with this team. I think he's going to be around for a long time, and I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say, Freddie, it's a maturity thing with time. I can promise you, when I was 24 years old, I didn't have millions of dollars, and I was a knucklehead. And I can only imagine if I would have been given a lot of money, I don't know where the hell I would be.
And I don't understand where I really don't understand. And this is not to, not to come at anybody, sideways with this, but I don't understand why people think that when you're 24 years old, just because you're in the NFL getting paid millions of dollars, that all of a sudden you're a grown man. Like when I was 24 years old, I mean, I was, smoking a blunt, drinking a 40 of OE, passed out in the McDonald's parking lot at 2:00 in the morning. Like, I'm not doing that shit now. I mean, maybe but no.
Maybe you're on this on vacation.
No,
maybe
I'm just saying though, like, you know, these are they are still kids, man. I mean, yes, you may be a man and you got adult consequences when you're that age, but you're still not as mature at that age as you are when you're, you know, say 27, 28, 29. I mean, you mature as you get older and you learn from your mistakes. Mistakes that you make when you're 22, 23 years old, you're not going to make when you're 28, 29. You learn from those mistakes. Some of it is immaturity. You know, you look, there are many players in the NFL that you can point to that matured through and had growth through their careers. And you've seen it. It's, you know, it's why Dak Prescott, for one, when Dak Prescott first came in the league, you used to see him and Ezekiel Elliott in the club. You'd see them in the club. You'd hear stories about them in the club all the time. When's the last time anybody's seen Dak Prescott in a club? He don't, because he matured. He got older. Priorities changed. Other things became more important to him. Having a family, having a fiance, like things like that. I mean, these guys go through a growth and a maturation process. So to think that Micah Parsons won't continue to evolve and continue to mature as he gets older, you know, I don't buy that. I think that, you know, I think he absolutely will. And I think he will. Sometimes you can grow into that leadership position. Expecting a guy just because he's this great talent to step in and all of a sudden he's the guy that's going to be the leader from day one. I don't really think that happens, you know, but I do think nobody wants to win more than Micah Parsons. You can see the frustration on his face. You know exactly what is pissing him off. He don't like losing. I mean, that he's not losing. So, I mean, that's the thing. So,
well, and the thing is too, is when we're saying mature, it's not, you know, it doesn't mean that he's a troublemaker. He doesn't get in any trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
maybe he says things that if in a year he's like, man, probably maybe I shouldn't have worded it that way. But he's a young guy, and you know, he's saying what he feels. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Is maybe a leadership role. You just can't. I mean, some people are leaders and some aren't. Some are vocal leaders and some are quiet leaders. It doesn't take anything away from the greatness that he is. I'm telling you what, I can tell you firsthand. I wrestled in high school. There is no tougher sport in the world than that. And Micah Parsons, I think if he didn't win states, he was up there. And he wrestled. I mean, he has a work ethic. I promise you. I guarantee you, his work ethic is like no other. Is as good or great as anyone. There's no one that works harder than Micah Parsons. I promise you that. It's just when we say maturity, and maybe some of the things he says, he's like, all right, you know, in a couple of years, I probably shouldn't say that. And it's just like what you said, Kelly. Look at Dak Prescott, about as CEO as you want to be as a guy. I mean, he was on a float, you know, having fun in New Orleans. I don't know if he does that today. And it doesn't make, he was a great player back then. Michael Irvin could party it up and be a leader and do everything. And I mean, you heard the stories of them. Everybody's a little bit different, but you know, I just don't, I'm not going to knock Micah Parsons. He's not a troublemaker. I mean, more trouble. No. What's more trouble he worth? I mean, he comes and shows and he balls out. He plays defensive end. He's undersized for that. And he brings it all the time. Are there games where he doesn't, you know, he ain't putting up big numbers? Sure. But I mean, I guarantee he's getting double teamed and triple teamed majority of the time. And maybe it's up for maybe someone on the other side should be feeding, right? There's if 2 or 3 people are blocking him, doesn't that open it up for someone else? So I'm not gonna. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You guys are sucking me in because now I feel like I got to defend him. I don't understand how we want to dog one of the best pass rushers in the NFL that is on our team. I mean,
yeah,
I don't.
Well, I can promise you right now, there's 31 other teams that would die to have him. 31 other teams. There is not one other team right now that if the Cowboys said they're shopping Parsons, we would hear from all 31 other teams, every single one of them. And that's just the facts. You've got, I mean, it's hard enough for a pass rusher in this league to get double-digit sacks. That's considered a good season if you reach that double-digit sack mark. And Micah Parsons has done that every single year that he's been in the league. Every single year. And if you think that he's going to have a drop off or get worse, I don't know where you got that from. He's a great player on the field. I mean, we need him to be fresh. We need him not to be worn down in the playoffs. We want him to have an impact in the playoffs. You know, that's just like everybody on this team, though. But if you're talking about taking Parsons, if you're talking about taking 12 to 13 sacks a year off this team, and you think that makes his team better, let me know where you're going to find those 13 sacks at. Let me know you're going to find them 13, 14 sacks at, because you ain't just pulling that out your ass. You ain't calling 1-800, like Bill Parcells said, it's not 1-800, quarterback. You ain't down a 1-800 pass rusher and getting you one of them dudes. You ain't getting Micah Parsons. Ain't falling off the tree no more.
Now, and I could be wrong, Kelly, but help me out. I don't ever remember seeing anything Micah Parsons said where he only wants to play edge. And I could be wrong. Someone help me. His brother, I've seen his brother's podcast and I've seen him on different shows. He even said that Parsons wants to be all over, wants to be off the ball, wants to be, used, and I think Parsons kind of said it, saying I'm a unique guy. There's got to be compromises that he wants to be more, moving around a little bit. I mean, and if I'm wrong, is it Glimmerman? Then I'm wrong, but I don't recall anywhere where I heard him say, I only want to be an edge rusher. That's it. I promise you this, Micah Parsons, whether he's classified as a linebacker or defensive end, is going to get paid. Period.
Yeah. I think more than anything, I think Micah Parsons wants to win. And he's mentioned it. Micah Parsons mentioned it just not that long ago when he was talking about his body and that he's taking time to heal. He's like, look, I don't need to beat these OTAs. I'm taking time to train myself mentally, physically, but I'm also taking time to heal, to keep myself fresh, because he said, I do get worn down. He's admitted as much.
Yeah.
So if he knows that already at this point in his career, that he wears down and he gets these little nicked up and stuff during the season, why wouldn't he listen to Zimmer and Zimmer say, hey, we're gonna develop a little bit of a game plan for you this year besides just putting your hand in the dirt and letting you rush the passer. I mean, that's still going to be what we want you to do because that's what you're best at. Yeah. But we have an idea to help keep you fresh and to help from keeping you get banged up and taking all these hits every single day. So like I think Zimmer is going to be good for Micah Parsons. Honestly, I really do, man. And I'm not on that train and refuse to jump on the train about Micah Parsons is a problem or Micah Parsons needs to be traded or anything of that nature. Now, if for some reason the Cowboys decided they were going to go nuclear and they're not going to re-sign Dak Prescott and they're going to rebuild and rebuild this thing from the ground up, sure, go ahead, trade Parsons and trade everybody else for that matter. Why not get rid of everybody? Let's trade CD, let's trade Micah, let's trade, let's get rid of them all. Everybody, let's get rid of Diggs, let's get rid of them all. Let's start from scratch. We'll have a shit ton of draft picks and let's build through the draft. But right now, I don't see that that's the way that anybody needs to go. I don't think that we need to go that way. I don't think the Cowboys want to go that way. I think Micah Parsons wants to be a Cowboy for life, and I think the Cowboys want him to be a key cornerstone defensive player for many, many years to come because pass rushers like that, they're hard to find, and we found one, and we drafted him. So you want to
don't drive him out of town. And again, like Glimmerman, you think that, and maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. I don't read into that. And I think that Zimmer has. You've watched his defenses. If you've watched him, it was I think it was Barr when he was younger. He was the guy that was kind of a linebacker, and they used him as pass rush. They used him all over. He used him as a weapon. I mean, look at what he did at safety with, was it Harrison Smith, if I got that right? I mean, bringing him up. He had Ken Hamlin, with the Cowboys, those years. I think he was the D coordinator in those years. And Ken Hamlin, Pro Bowl years with the Cowboys, and he was a guy that just would attack the line of scrimmage and was what I think maybe Donovan Wilson could end up being in that role as he goes. So, I would just say, this is what I'm saying is like everyone gets, these perceptions and these thoughts of maybe what media says or what people have these feelings of Parsons or CD or Dak. And we don't know if it's true. I mean, the one thing I do know, and I believe, and I could be wrong, is all three of them want to win. And if you want to win, I want you on my team. Now they got to win. I mean, I get it, but I'm never going to lose. I'm never going to throw three of the best players out, the three best players on my team out on the street either. And I'm not going to just shit on them all the time. I want some accountability. We want them to, perform in those games. But, there's more to that. But anyway, we could talk all day, all night. I got to get up at 4:30 to go to Vegas, or at least take my wife to the airport to go to Vegas. I got to wait till Friday. So let's finish up with no Cowboys and talk basketball, because I'm a Miami Heat fan. I told you guys, you guys know that. Mark knows that because he had to buy me a hat after Miami Heat took care of the Celtics, last year. But looking at this, Jimmy, who's on our Monday show, he's the resident basketball guy. I don't know if you're a big basketball guy, Kelly. I'm not 100% sure, but
I'm not really. I'm not really, but I know. I'm not really, but I know enough, follow enough to know when I've watched enough of the playoffs to have an idea of who. I love basketball. I'm more of a college basketball guy, but I used to watch NBA religiously. So when I'm watching, I understand what I'm watching. I understand perimeter defense, who's got the big man down. So I understand the game well enough to speak about it, and have an educated opinion and not just be
our expert. And I want your opinion to agree. I want people in the chat. Our resident expert, and there's no bias here because he's not a fan of either team. He's a New York Knicks fan. Surprised me. He thinks Mavs in 5. If Porzingis plays, which I think they said he was, then Mavs in 6. He thinks. I thought everyone was going to pick the Celtics. I thought the Celtics were going to. They're the deeper team. They've been here. And do you agree? I mean, could this be the Mavs? Here?
I think it is. I watched enough of them to see that I think they just got that X factor in Luka, and I got Mavs in 6.
Okay.
And so that's what I made when they first made the matchup. That's what was my prediction. I'm gonna stay with that. I've got a bet with a guy on Twitter, Danny. He's made a bet with me for $50. He said Boston in 5, and I said no, absolutely no way. Boston is the Mavs are only winning 1 game. I think right now Luka and Kyrie are clicking, but when I came on the show and talked to you guys a little bit about it, what really I think is the X factor is is Lively, the rookie center for the Mavs. His maturation and development, and just how he has really come along and come alive in these playoffs, and been a guy who just makes it difficult for teams to score in the paint, is unquestionable. I think he's the X factor. I think Kyrie and Luka are one of the greatest duos in the league, and not to take anything away from the Celtics, because they're a great duo. Tatum is a beast as well. I think this is the Mavs year, man. I think this is the year that Luka gets a title, and I think Kyrie gets his second. So yeah, I think the Mavs win it in 6. I think it'll be a good series, though, entertaining. So,
well, and I think and Jimmy again gave you credit with Lively, and I took your advice and I saw him playing, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try and win my money back, and I did. So thank you very much. I mean, what a beating! That game was, and so they're tipping off on Thursday, and if you kind of notice that's why we're here today and not on the show tomorrow, is because we both of us want to watch that game. So keep tuned. Depending on how the schedule works out, we may, we don't want to conflict with any Mavs game, so we'll definitely check it out. But looking at, Luka, you win a title. I mean, where does that put him? He's kind of become the face of the NBA. Is that? I mean, would you agree with that? Is that
well, I think he does if he wins this title right now, because I think he's 25 years old, I believe. Yeah, 25 years old. Is born in 1999. Does that make you feel old? 25 years old, and on the verge of winning his first NBA title. They've put a team around him that is capable of competing going forward. You look at the nucleus of this team. There's some really good young players that are on this team. The fact that Lively came along as a rookie so quickly, I don't think they were really expecting that. So that's a huge thing for them. So they've got a good young nucleus around this team that I think if they win it this year, I think you could be looking at a Mavs team that's going to be competitive in the West, for years to come, where they may win multiple titles. This may just be the first of a couple, maybe a run here by the Mavericks there. But
pressure on Dallas if they win too, huh?
Yeah. That's that'd be two titles in back-to-back years. You got the Rangers winning the World Series, and then you'd have the Mavs winning the NBA championship, and Dallas Cowboys sitting over there with the dunce hat on in the corner of the classroom. So but yeah, man, I just got back into watching basketball this year because I thought, you know what? Well, I have obviously I have a lady friend there in Dallas, Cindy.
I see that. She likes the Mavs.
Yep. She's a Mavs fan, so she kind of hooked me in on that, hooked me into watching the basketball again this year, and I've really enjoyed the playoffs. Actually, it's my whole thing is that the basketball with how the players shift, and it seems like you can never have a team where a player sticks around and stays on one team his entire career. His players just jump, it seems like, around, and I'm not a big fan of that, but got back in there and watched the playoffs. I've watched the Mavs throughout the playoffs, and they have impressed me, and they just look to have that championship swagger about them, and it all starts with Luka Doncic, man. He's that dude he's insane. He's got some dog in him, and I like his game a lot. And Kyrie's probably the best compliment to a guy like that you can get. So
yeah, and I like him because he's got the dad bod, right? He's not, he looks.
He is, man. He is. A lot of people criticize him. They talk about that doughboy body, and they talk about all this stuff. But it's man, he's got. Luka is cold, man. He's cold.
Yeah. Well, and then I saw you get into some Twitter stuff, and you had to defend yourself on a couple things. So if you want, here's a platform to. Sometimes when you type stuff, maybe it doesn't come out right or whatever. And I don't think you did. I agree with everything you say. The only thing I would say is you're looking at the WNBA. And you said you don't watch women's basketball. I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But you see this Caitlin Clark thing, and and I think back and you look at Reese as well, and you saw what happened in NCAA, the college basketball. I don't know if you got sucked into it. I got sucked into it. I did
for college basketball. I did,
and it was just fun, it's exciting. And I will say, I don't really watch anymore, but for the first few games, I was tuning in a couple of these games and saying, hey, let's see it. But yeah, it's not easy to watch, but I would say this. Do you think it's a mistake by the league and by some of these players? You've got an opportunity where you've got these young rookies coming in, and you're almost getting kind of like that. And I'm not going to compare, so please don't kill me for this. Bird Magic. So you had Reese and Caitlin Clark, and you've got the other, and the players are just shitting on them, and especially Caitlin Clark. And I'm looking at the attendance, and I'm saying, all right, the game there's 17,000 people sold out, and then there's 4,000 at some of these other games. You think they'd want to ride that wave, and it was an opportunity to maybe get the WNBA going, but they just doesn't look like it wants to work, huh?
Well, it's funny because here's the thing, man, is if you have a differing opinion on something, man, people are really going to run wild with it. and it's funny because it's always strangers that don't know me, don't know a damn thing about me. I feel like if I was a sexist, I feel like people would know that already and kind of would have called it out many, many, many years ago. And I probably wouldn't have, the following that I have and people that legitimately like me and enjoy being around me, but I don't really give a damn what a few random Twitter users say. It's an inferior product, plain and simple. It just is. I've watched it, and these women are missing wide open layups. If it's a slightly contested layup, they're missing it. I watch. I like to see highlight plays. I like to see dunks. I like to see just eye-dropping plays. I like to see dudes in the NBA breaking ankles. You're not really seeing things like that in the WNBA. It's just an inferior product. It is. It's not something that interests me in the least. I've seen some highlights, and even the highlights don't impress me. So that's just me. It's my personal preference. And I've said before, Oklahoma and Texas were playing tonight in softball for the national championship. And I've been kind of checking that out. I like women's softball. I like women's volleyball.
Who doesn't like women's volleyball?
Who doesn't like women's
volleyball? Right? You don't want the gym one.
And I'm just saying, like, I don't like NASCAR. I'm not really a fan of hockey. I watched some this year, but I'm not a guy. I watched like one game from start to finish this year of the Stars. I kind of scoreboard watched, man, because I'm just not really a hockey fan. Don't watch men's golf. Like, there's certain things I don't watch because they don't resonate with me. So, and I feel like a lot of things with this Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese thing, I feel like that there is a portion that has really made this whole thing about race. And it's like, it's and so you've got, now it's this thing where you've got an added element to the WNBA, because now it's about race, and it's about, you've got Pat McAfee calling Caitlin Clark this white bitch, and you've got Jamel Hill, who's, she's hammering Caitlin Clark and saying, that she's getting on. And it's kind of gotten to this huge thing where it's, in my opinion, yes, it's giving the WNBA attention, but is it the right kind of attention in terms of some of the way that it's going? Because some of it's turned a little bit hateful, in my opinion. And when I watched Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark go at it, I wasn't thinking about, well, this is a black girl versus a white girl. I thought this was two very talented athletes going at it at one of the highest levels in college sports. And I thought, hey, this would be a nice transition into the WNBA if this was a budding rivalry, right? And I thought this would be kind of cool. But at the same time, I watched it through the college thing because it was at the highest point. It's at the national level. Like, if Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark went up against each other in the WNBA championship, I might watch a game or two. I might, but I can barely watch 82 regular NBA games, let alone WNBA games. So I'm not a fan of the WNBA. I think it's an inferior product. I think it's a sloppy product. It doesn't entertain me at the least. And it's just, now I got people that are out there that are calling me sexist because because I don't like the WNBA. So, like, you're a sexist pig because it's women. And what was funny about it was that somebody made a joke in the thread, and that's what this guy ran with. Somebody made a joke, said, what if they played in bra and panties? And I said, you son of a bitch, I'm in. Is a joke. I don't care if they played butt ass naked. I'm still not gonna watch it. It's not gonna take time out of my day. I'm sorry. I might tune in every once in a while, but listen, it's my time is important. I value my time, so I only spend my time doing things I truly enjoy. I don't enjoy watching the WNBA. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's women that play that sport. If those women were dunking and doing 360s and alley-ooping off the boards and giving me some eye-dropping highlighted plays, then I would tune in. I would watch it, but I'm not seeing that, so I don't.
I agree. I agree, and you could even say, and I don't. Maybe you did, but the lingerie football league, I never watched it. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I don't either. I
looked at the pictures and the reels, and so all right, I'll watch that. I mean, I'm not gonna. I still got eyes, but it wasn't a great product. And I think to your point, like college basketball, I love March Madness, and I like the women's tournament when it gets going. And so I to your point is, when it's a championship, when it's things like that, the casual fan's going to tune in. It doesn't mean that you're sexist or anything. I love I like watching women's tennis more than men. I think it's more competitive. I think they're better. It's better to watch because there's more volleys back and forth. In the Olympics, don't hate me, guys, I like watching figure skating. I like watching the skiing. I like watching any other kind of competition because it means it's all about what it is. But for someone to say that because you don't like the WNBA, you're sexist. I mean, it's just boring. I mean, if you're having trouble sleeping, hey, you put the WNBA on, you sleep like a baby. I mean, that's what you do. I mean,
somebody said gymnastics. I like watching women's gymnastics.
I like gymnastics too.
I like watching gymnastics too. Yeah. So I mean, and it was funny because they're like, you're sexist. And the funny thing is, and no need to sit here and justify myself. I don't feel the need that I have to do that. But I mean, anybody that knows me knows that one, two of the most important people in my life are my daughter and my granddaughter. And I have raised my daughter to be a strong, independent woman, and I'm proud of everything she does. And I tell her never settle for less. And I tell her, her worth is just as good as a man's. That's the way that I've raised my kids. So, I mean, it's funny what the conclusions that people would jump to based off of one tweet. So again, and somebody said it, they said the Cowboys is king. Like, look, man, I love me some Texas Tech. I love Texas Tech. I love watching the Red Raiders. I mean, I got Texas Tech, the double T tatted on me, but they hold they're the second fiddle to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys will always, if the Dallas Cowboys are on TV, I'm watching that over anything else. Yeah. There's not one other thing in this world that I'm watching over the Dallas Cowboys at all. Like,
well, think about it. You love football, right?
Love it.
Football, just football. You love football. Do you watch the UFL? Do you watch the XFL?
No,
because it's not a good product. It's not
a good product.
Something it's not that you'll watch the championship game because it's just the finality of it that's exciting, right? And that's all it is. And that's why people need to just lighten up. And it's just this whole thing. Yeah. I was only teasing with you. I
know, but I mean, it's this thing now where people can't have opinions without being called, without being judged and backed into a corner. If you don't agree with something, then you're automatic 180 the opposite direction of what you. And it's like, no, I mean, people can have preferences. It's fucking sports, man. Pump the brakes and take a chill pill, man. And not everything in life is that damn serious. So. Yeah. It was pretty funny, but yeah, I did. It
made me laugh. You guys know, during the off season, I'm kind of like I'm what do they call those guys? I'm a troller. I don't post a lot unless it's Cowboys. I don't have, so I troll everybody. And Kelly's my favorite. I have marks. So anytime you tweet, I get to see it, and it gives me a good laugh during the day. And I say, all right, what kind of troubles Kelly getting into today? And I see the 100 comments. I said, I got to read them all to see what's going on. It's always a lot of fun, but people take things too serious. It's just like, Mark, we talked about 2 Live Crew, and I don't want to get too deep into it, get late, but Brother Marquise passed away this week, and it was funny. There's if you like that era rap, there was he was on Vlad TV.
Yeah.
And he did an interview on YouTube. And it was a couple years ago. And it was so interesting. He kind of went through the whole story with 2 Live Crew. And I knew a lot of it, kind of how they were founded. They weren't from Miami. I mean, it was Fresh Kid Ice and Mr. Mix. They were military, kids. They bounced around, and they ended up in California. And Brother Marquise was from Rochester, New York. He ended up down in California. They ended up, linking up, and then they're down in Miami, and now they're doing Miami bass, and they're, but none of them were from Miami except for Luke, and Luke screwed him out of a bunch of money. But he said he did not like doing that kind of music, like the language, like all the stuff. He said, but when they did Throw That D, and we want some, what he said, he wrote all these songs, and the crowd, I mean, everyone loved it. So they did it. But he said, they never, I was a kid listening to that in 86, 87. I was 10, 11, 12 years old. I think about could my kids be listening to this today? I'd have a heart attack. But I never took it serious. We all laughed about it. And that's why I think people take words, if you're joking or if you're doing in parody or comedy or whatever, they just take everything so serious nowadays that you just can't laugh. And I don't know. It's just
you're right. And it's funny because there's we live in a different day and age in a different society, man, where there's just 2 groups of people, man. There's people that know how to take jokes, and there's people that know how to that not everything is what it is, and then there's other people that are offended by everything. I mean, unfortunately, that's just the society we live in. It's it's not me trying to make any type of political statement. It's the facts, man. Some people can take things easy, and I always say, man, life ain't a dick. Don't take it so hard. I mean, just that's the way that it is, man. It's funny because you say that, And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. You know, you're talking about Two Live Crew. You know, Eminem came out with this new thing, and it's kind of like a throwback to his old.
Oh, I loved it. I heard it today. Great,
yeah,
great.
And there were some people, and they're just sitting there, and they're like, you know, wait, what a second, what are some of these lyrics? And I thought that song is mild. If you thought that was, you know, and then it brought me back. I kind of started listening to some old school Eminem and some old Slim Shady albums, and man, some of the lyrics that he said, and some of the, you know, just outright just nasty thing, you know, and you're just sitting there listening, and you're going, man, like they get a hold of this, you know, let them get a hold of this. If they think that, you know, it's funny to watch how people just overreact to everything nowadays. And I just sit back and kind of enjoy it all and laugh. And you know, what's funny is that, and this is just me, if something ever has just, if I see a tweet and I don't agree with it, it's funny. My thumb does this thing where I just scroll right by it. It's funny how that works for some people, but not for everybody. So I don't know, man. Take a lesson in life, people. You don't got to take everything so serious, man.
People just want to be negative, and we could talk about, but I'll leave with, you know, one last thing. So my brothers and I, we split on a pontoon boat, and it's a Sea-Doo. It's almost like a jet boat, but it's like a pontoon.
Yeah.
And kind of did it, or, you know, my dad's getting older, and he loves, you know, I had a boat years ago when my kids were younger. We used to go out to the islands and had a great time and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we kind of missed that. And your dad's getting older, so it's one of those things, kind of keep the family together and have some fun with it. So I go, you know, what I always do is when I get something, I'll join the groups, right? So they have the Sea-Doo group, Sea-Doo owners of the switches. So then you can pick up some tips and kind of learn things about it, whatever. 90% of the group bitches about these Sea-Doos. It's like, piece of shit. It doesn't, you know, all negative stuff. It's in the shop all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you in this group? Like, and most of them don't even own it, but they're just negative. People just want to be negative because it's just so easy to be negative. It's just like when you do your videos, or I do my videos, or we do things, you know, you're always, and that's fine. I love the negativity comments because you're still watching it, but it's just like people just love to be negative. They just love to hate. You know, it's just that what was it? The haters ball, hate. I mean, that's what it is. It's that's what this world has become. Everyone just wants to, they just want to be negative. I saw maybe for every 10 negative comments, there was one comment said, man, I love this boat, man. Here's some stuff. Here's some tips. Like one poor guy asked about, hey, how do you do this? Like he was like a bat, or how to work the radio or something. And 15 comments. Piece of shit radio. You can't turn it down. And this doesn't work. And I mean, and I'm thinking, I said, I took mine out. The radio worked fine. So I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy.
Well, you know, it's easier to tear people down and be negative than it is to be positive and build people up. And I don't really get it. Well, it's not easier. I think it's just the more socially like accepted thing now, man. You know, you got all these people that are just, you know, like misery loves company. You know, me personally, I choose to try to stay the positive point. I know people see me, you know, cuss a lot, and sometimes I'll cuss people out, but I return the same energy that people bring to me. I will have a educated debate, but as soon as somebody starts coming at me, calling me names, instantly I'm go from 0 to 100 really quick. So I'm instantly
you're what we call you're Rambo.
Yeah,
they drew first blood, not me.
That's right.
You know, that's what you go by.
That's right. Exactly.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna get rolling. I gotta get up early. I'm flying out to Vegas on Friday. I know my man Cuts was out there, so I'm gonna try and I don't know if I'll be able to do all that fun stuff he did, but we're gonna have a good little weekend. But yeah, you have a good weekend, Kelly. Everyone else, you guys have a great weekend. Hey, we got 440 people on here right now. Do your guy. I mean, you love Kelly. If you don't like me, I know you love Kelly. If you don't like Kelly, hopefully you like me. You gotta like one of us. So do one of us a favor and hop on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe. Hit that like on the videos, man. Show your boys some love. We're trying to put together some fun content. You see, once we get the seasons going, a lot of interaction. We want to do phone calls, want to get people on here, have a great time. We're Cowboy fans. We're not experts. We told you that. We're not breaking down film. We're talking as passionate Cowboy fans, and that's what we want to attract. So if you guys are enjoying it and we get all these people watching, man, you got to hit that subscribe, like, and share. Get your lazy ass over. I'm only kidding, to YouTube, but it is lazy if you haven't done it. Right, Kelly? Is that fair to say?
I mean, it takes 2 seconds, man. There should be 440. There should be, well, I say 441. There's probably some subscribers in here. But, yeah, get your ass on over there to YouTube. Get your ass. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Get you and you too. I see you now. And, yeah, get over to YouTube and subscribe for us, man. Do us a favor. It helps us out. He said, Cut said, Kimmy loves Kelly. I saw that. You tell Kimmy I love her right back. So she's a little sweetheart. That's Fred's daughter, man. She's a little sweetheart. Yeah. Got to catch up her a little bit this weekend. So, but yeah, man, everybody, if you haven't already, take a quick moment, go over to the channel. Literally takes seconds. You click that channel, you hit the like, you hit the subscribe. Helps us out. 400 plus people in here stuck around, watch the show. Obviously, you like what you saw because you stuck around, you didn't leave. So hey, give us a sub and help us out as we continue to grow this show and bring more good material, and you guys can chop it up with Mike the hype man and Kelly the sexist pig. So
all right, brother. You guys have a great one, man. Hit that like button on your way out. I appreciate it, man. Have a good weekend. We'll see you, man. Take care.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.